can make you understand how it felt.
You don't know the whole story. What else do I need to know? You're just like the rest of them, but I'm not. Everyone is just so nice until they drive you to kill yourself. And sooner or later, the truth will come out.
Welcome back to the show. Now, you may have heard your teens talking about this new show. You just saw a snippet of a Netflix show called 13 Reasons Why. And it follows a group of students dealing with a classmate who recently committed suicide. So this morning, we're asking the difficult question, how do you actually talk to your kids about mental health? And so we're joined by Nataxja Cini from Family Therapy. Always a pleasure to have you here.
Good morning.
And it's interesting, as these televisions kind of gain a new audience and a younger audience, is this an important conversation we need to be having?
It's a very important conversation to have with your children. It's just like when you talk about body parts of our children, you don't want to use fake words with them, you don't want to sugarcoat it, and we actually need to talk about it, because when we don't talk about it, we keep on the stigmatization of mental health and the denial of what's happening out there in the real world.
It's interesting. The show has had very positive reviews, very mixed reviews, a little bit of that voyeurism as to what is happening. And so it hits on so many different things, different age groups as well. And so how do you differentiate between what's going to be appropriate for a younger child, 5, 6, 7, 8, who are hearing these words, and then dealing with your teens and your preteens?
So there's a big difference. It's just like anything we talk about with children, you keep it age appropriate. For the youngest group, your children, if someone does die in your family, has committed suicide, you actually do use the words depression, because start using the words right away, but you don't go into a lot of detail about it. You can say that, someone died, they were depressed, and that means that they were very, very, very sad.
This is being truthful, right?
Exactly.
Using the words that they understand, but being truthful about it. And so it's the word and the word use that you'll need to just differentiate between the age groups.
Exactly. Because for your 2-year-old, they might not even comprehend what dead means. I mean, unless you've had a pet goldfish, something that dies, death is very, abstract for little children. They're not going to be here anymore. Their body doesn't work anymore. There's nothing we can do, and we're not going to see them anymore. And this makes me very sad. For older children, so even when you get to 5 years old, you start talking about, what dead means, and that they were sick, they couldn't think very well, it made them think bad thoughts. And also you tell them it's not contagious, because that may be a fear that I could get that type of sickness too. So for that age group, you want to tell them you can't catch it, and it makes you very sad. As you get to older children, by the time you're 10, you know that suicide, if someone dies suddenly, it's not a normal life event. And so you want to start having that conversation and start asking them questions at this point in time.
Asking them questions as to how much they understand, or
yes.
Or do you ask the child, what is it that you would want to know, or are there any questions you want to ask me as a parent? How do you open that dialogue?
And that's the important thing, is you don't want to have closed-ended questions like, do you know anything about suicide? No, yes. Because, yes is a great way of shutting down conversations. You want to ask them, have you guys talked about this? Are their friends ever talked about this? Do you know what you would do if someone came up to you? Because this is something that does happen in our high schools, that you may have friends, or you overhear talk in the bathroom, the change room, that someone is depressed or suicidal or is trying to take their life.
The interesting part is that there are families who, have issues, or that have had something like this affect them within the family. And so there was an interesting way of looking at the dynamics of keeping something a secret or asking for privacy within the family. And so you wanted to really be able to differentiate between those two.
Yes, because keeping secrets involves shame, humiliation, and that's not a very healthy thing to do, because it also keeps that, don't talk about it. But we also want to have privacy, because sometimes if this happens in your family, you may not be prepared or ready to talk about it publicly, or you may not want to share all the details. And so you want to talk to your children that, there is privacy, that's something we're going to keep within the family. We don't want to share all the details right now, and at some point in time we're going to be ready to talk about this openly with other people. The other thing is, if you have ever been affected by suicide, that someone in the family has committed suicide, you want to make sure that your children's teachers, caregivers, people close to your children are aware of this, and you let your children know that you've talked to school or their caregivers about this, so that they approach their child, they're not caught off guard that the outside people know that someone's committed suicide within the family.
But interesting, using the words of family privacy and understanding what has happened rather than the secret and the shameful aspect of not being able to talk about it.
Exactly, because I mean, you know, secrets are bad things. I mean, how I distinguish with my children is I like surprises. And surprises is something like we're going to have a surprise about a birthday. A secret is something that we can't talk about. Shh, don't talk about it. And then there's the embarrassment. I mean, I don't remember, you know, we don't air our secrets in public, or, you know, but that kept people that we couldn't talk about things. Almost every family has a mental health issue, and we need to talk about it because then we know how to be able to reach out for help, and that's really important.
The show is garnering a lot of attention, and it's getting people thinking, and it's also suggesting to people who are dealing with mental health issues that sometimes this could be a trigger. By watching the show, it's triggering a certain amount of emotion. So for you, it's always about knowing when something's affecting you and calling if you're in crisis or asking for help, and there are ways for people to do that. Where should they be reaching out to?
So there's lots of numbers in Ottawa. The Ottawa Distress Center, the Youth Service Bureau has a phone number, and they even have chat for teenagers. There's a children's helpline for little kids to call if they need to talk to somebody. There's even a parents helpline. And so if you're ever in immediate crisis, 911 is always the number to call, but there's the Ottawa Distress Center, which is manned 24 hours a day.
Always a pleasure, and thank you so much for the information. It's always, you know, just that reminder of having that open dialogue and these conversations. So all of the information that was listed on the screen there, if you know someone that was suffering from mental illness, there were numbers to call.